I will tell you a secret that will dismantle everything you've been taught about connection. A truth so contrary to the noisy gospel of our age that it feels like a blasphemy to speak it aloud. The secret is this: your words make you weak. Every word you speak is a piece of your soul that you give away for free. Every explanation, every justification, every heartfelt confession, every desperate plea to be understood, it is a slow, steady hemorrhage of your own power. You believe you are building bridges with your words. You do not realize you are draining the moat around your own castle. You are a leaky vessel. In your eagerness to be liked, to be approved of, to be loved, you spill your contents onto the ground for anyone to inspect. You explain your motivations. You lay bare your strategy. You narrate your own inner turmoil like a sports commentator, hoping she will be impressed by the complexity of the game. And she listens with what seems like rapt attention. But she is not listening to your reasons. She is assessing the leaks. She is gauging the rate of your desperation. A man who feels the need to explain himself is a man who is not confident in his own actions. A man who pleads to be understood is a man who does not understand himself. Machiavelli, that unsentimental Florentine who saw the world as a chessboard of power, not a garden of feelings, knew the value of a closed mouth. A prince, he advised, should be sparing with his words. The less he says, the more weight his words carry when he does speak. Every unnecessary word is a potential liability, a promise that can be broken, a piece of information that can be used against him. The chattering prince is seen as frivolous, indecisive, and weak. The quiet prince is seen as thoughtful, deliberate, and formidable. His silence creates a vacuum, and into that vacuum, others project their own fears and awe. His beingness becomes a canvas for their imagination, and they will always paint a more intimidating picture than the reality. There is a grim fable from the frozen north about a tribe that believed a man's strength resided in his breath. Every word spoken was a small portion of that strength given to the wind, never to return. The foolish and the young chattered constantly, their lives bright, brief, and full of sound, their breath steaming and vanishing in the cold air until they were frail and empty. The chieftains and the great hunters, however, were men of profound silence. They would sit for days without speaking, conserving their breath, their power. And when they finally did speak, a single word of command, a sharp cry on the hunt, that word was so dense with conserved power that it could shake the snow from the trees and freeze the blood of their enemies. They did not respect the man who spoke the most. They respected the man whose silence was the heaviest. You have been taught the opposite. The modern world is a conspiracy of chatter. It demands you share, open up, communicate your feelings. And this is the language of the therapeutic state, designed to make you transparent, manageable, and legible. But it is not the language of power. Power is opaque. Power is mysterious. Power does not feel the need to justify its own existence. When you feel that frantic urge to explain to her why you did what you did, to justify your choices, to make her understand your heart, stop. Recognize that urge for what it is, the whining of your own insecurity. It is the leaky vessel, desperate for someone else to certify its worth. To give into it is to surrender your authority. To resist it, to simply stand by your actions in silence, is to communicate on a much deeper, more primal level. It says, "My reasons are my own. My judgment is sufficient. Your approval is not required for this operation." The strange, almost imperceptible hope here is that in practicing this verbal economy, you are not just building power in the eyes of others. You are building it within yourself. By refusing to spill your inner life at every opportunity, you begin to cultivate a rich, pressurized internal world. Your thoughts become your own. Your feelings are no longer commodities for public consumption. You stop being a leaky vessel and start becoming a deep, quiet, and self-contained well. So I dare you to try this, you who are so articulate in your own defense. The next time you are misunderstood, the next time she questions your motives, fight the urge to speak. Let the accusation hang in the air. Let the silence stretch until it becomes uncomfortable, until it becomes a living thing. Let her be the first to break it. And in that moment, You will learn more about the true nature of power than 1,000 heartfelt conversations could ever teach you. Your silence is not an empty space. It is a mirror in which she will be forced to see herself. Imagine you stand before a god on a throne of black stone. The god is immense, ancient, and utterly still. It has no eyes, no mouth, no features at all, just a smooth, polished, unreadable surface. You have come to plead your case, to ask for a blessing, to demand justice. You speak. You pour out your heart, your arguments, your justifications. Your voice echoes in the cavernous silence. The god does not move. It does not respond. It simply is. Unnerved by the silence, you begin to falter. You start to question your own words. Was your argument strong enough? Was your plea sincere? You hear the slight tremor of desperation in your own echoing voice. You try again, speaking louder, faster. You start to confess things you hadn't intended to, revealing your hidden motives, your secret fears, all in a frantic attempt to elicit any reaction from the silent monolith before you. After an hour, you are left empty, exhausted, having revealed every secret of your soul. The god has not said a word, and yet it has learned everything. You must become that silent god. This is the second, more profound truth of quietude. Silence is not a passive state. It is not an absence. It is an active psychological force. It is a vacuum that human nature abhors. When you are quiet, when you refuse to fill the space with the noise of your own needs, you force the other person to confront the deafening sound of their own inner world. Your silence becomes a question she will be forced to answer to herself. A talkative man is a shallow, fast-moving stream. His contents are on full display. Every pebble of insecurity, every piece of driftwood from his past. He is easy to read, easy to navigate, and ultimately, easy to forget. The quiet man is a deep, still mountain lake. Its surface is placid, unreadable. People are drawn to it. They stare into its dark waters, trying to glimpse the bottom, but they see only their own reflection, distorted and made monstrous by the depths. They become obsessed with what might lie beneath. They will throw stones into it, provocations, questions, emotional outbursts, just to see a ripple, just to get a reaction. Do not be fooled. They are not trying to understand you. They are trying to soothe their own terror of your stillness. Machiavelli, a master of courtly intrigue, understood that the most valuable intelligence is that which is freely given by an opponent who believes he is in control. The prince who listens more than he speaks, who meets a torrent of accusations with a calm, thoughtful silence, will watch his enemies defeat themselves. They will overplay their hand, they will reveal their strategy, they will expose their own weaknesses in their frantic attempt to fill the void his silence creates. There is a strange legend from the monastic orders of medieval Spain about a confessor known only as Brother Silence. He was said to be the greatest extractor of confessions in the land, yet he had been born mute. Sinners would enter his dark, cramped confessional, and he would simply be there, a shadowy, breathing presence. The sinner would begin with their prepared, edited confession. Brother Silence would not respond. No penance, no judgment, no absolution. Just the sound of his own slow breathing. The sinner, unnerved, would start again. They would add more details, trying to shock a response from him. They would begin to weep, to plead. They would confess sins they hadn't even remembered, digging deeper and deeper into their own psyches, essentially performing a brutal self-interrogation to break the unbearable stillness of the monk. After an hour, they would stumble out, pale and empty, having given up every secret without a single question being asked. Your silence is that confessional. When she is upset, when she is testing you, when she is trying to draw you into a drama, your every instinct will be to speak, to defend, to soothe, to solve. This is a fatal error. You must instead become the silent monk. Let her pour out her words. Let her exhaust her emotions against the unbreachable wall of your calm. In her frustration, she will reveal her true strategy, her real fears, her actual intentions. You will gain a perfect understanding of her soul, all while revealing nothing of your own. The quiet hope in this dark art is that you are not just gaining a strategic advantage, you are becoming a student of human nature. By detaching from the need to participate, you become a perfect observer. You cease to be an actor, lost in the drama of the scene, and you become the audience, watching the play with a new, strange, and terrible clarity. You see the strings. So, I invite you to this experiment. The next time you find yourself in a confrontation, a negotiation, a moment of emotional tension, after she has spoken, do not respond immediately. Let the silence hang in the air for 5 seconds. 10. Let it become a physical presence in the room. Watch her. Watch what she does when she is left alone with her own words. Watch how her own mind becomes her most effective interrogator. A fool fires 100 arrows in the dark and calls it a strategy. A master waits for the one perfect shot that ends the war. I have seen men talk themselves out of fortunes, out of kingdoms, and out of the beds of women they desire. I have seen them, in a desperate flurry of words, build their own prisons and then hand the key to their captor. They believe the man who controls the conversation is the one who speaks the most. What a pathetic, fatal misunderstanding. The man who controls the conversation is the one who controls the silence. The goal, you see, is not to become a mute. A silent fool is still a fool. The goal is to transform yourself from a common foot soldier, flailing about with a rusty sword, into a master archer. And the art of the archer is not in the shooting. It is in the not shooting. It is in the long, patient, and utterly silent moments of observation, of waiting, of breathing. It is the art of verbal economy. A talkative man is a man with a machine gun, spraying bullets of opinion and justification in every direction, hoping to hit something. He makes a lot of noise, he creates a lot of smoke, and he almost always ends up with an empty clip and an enemy who is annoyed, but unharmed. A quiet man is a sniper. He may lie still for hours, his breathing slow, his presence almost undetectable. He watches, he waits, he understands the terrain. And when the perfect moment arrives, he exhales, and with a single, almost silent action, he changes the entire landscape of the battle. When you are in a conversation that has become a conflict, your words are your arrows. To speak out of emotion, out of a need to defend your ego, is to fire blindly into the dark. You are wasting your ammunition and revealing your position. The Machiavellian master of dialogue does the opposite. He conserves his arrows. He lets the other person exhaust themselves, revealing their own arguments, their own weaknesses, their own emotional state. He listens, he waits, he breathes, and then he speaks. But what does he say? He does not offer a long, reasoned defense. He does not present a counter-argument. He fires one, single, perfectly aimed arrow. It might be a simple, disarming question. Why does this matter so much to you? It might be a concise, unarguable statement of fact. That is not what happened. It might be a moment of perfectly timed, unexpected humor that shatters the tension and reveals the absurdity of the conflict. It might be the most powerful arrow of all, a single word. No. In the Zen traditions of Japan, they tell of a great swordsman who was challenged by a young, arrogant samurai. The young samurai was a whirlwind of motion and fury, his blade a blur of silver, his battle cries shaking the blossoms from the cherry trees. The old master simply stood there, his sword in its scabbard. He watched. He waited. For a full hour, he did nothing but avoid the young man's furious attacks. Finally, the young samurai, exhausted and enraged by the old man's passivity, lunged forward in a clumsy, final attack. In that one moment of overextension, the old master drew his sword, made a single, almost invisible cut, and then sheathed his blade again. The young samurai stood frozen for a second, a look of confusion on his face, before falling to the ground, defeated. The master had won not with superior aggression, but with superior economy. You must become that master. You must learn that the power of your words is inversely proportional to the number of them you use. Let her fill the air with her drama, her accusations, her emotions. Stand your ground. Be the silent, unmovable center. Watch, wait. And when the moment is right, when she has overextended and revealed her true position, release your single, perfectly chosen arrow. You will find it strikes with more force than 1,000 frantic arguments. The quiet, secret hope in this discipline is that you will begin to fall in love with your own silence. You will discover a sense of peace and power in your own restraint. You will no longer feel that frantic, needy compulsion to justify your own existence. You will learn to trust the weight of your own quiet presence. You will find that when you do choose to speak, people listen with a new kind of intensity because they know your words are rare and valuable, like diamonds mined from a deep and silent earth. This is not a game for boys. It is the high art of the prince, the philosopher, the master. It requires patience. It requires the courage to be misunderstood in the short term. It requires you to slay the chattering, insecure ego within you. So I ask you, you who are so quick with a clever rebuttal, so full of reasons and explanations, look back at your last argument. How many words did you waste? How many arrows did you fire into the darkness? And what if, instead, you had said nothing at all and waited with the patience of a hunter for the one perfect, fatal moment to speak? In a world that feasts on your reactions, your silence is not a weakness. It is an act of war. Here's a bitter joke for you, the kind they tell in the re-education camps of the soul. The modern world has declared that your silence is a form of violence, while its own deafening, incessant noise is presented as a form of love. You must understand that you are living in a giant, chaotic, and desperately needy marketplace. Every institution, every corporation, every social movement, every algorithm, and often every person is a frantic merchant trying to sell you something. They need your attention. They need your reaction. They need your emotional data, your anger, your joy, your guilt, your desire. These are the commodities they trade in. Your noise is their profit. Your predictable, expressive, chattering self is the resource that fuels their entire pathetic economy. A quiet man is a commercial dead zone. A quiet man is a bad citizen of the digital state. He does not react, so he cannot be manipulated. He does not overshare, so he cannot be profiled. He does not feel the need to broadcast his opinions, so he cannot be drawn into the fake, tribal warfare that keeps the populace distracted. In the midst of the noisy, frantic marketplace, the silent man is a statue. He is a judgment. His stillness is a profound and terrifying indictment of the meaningless activity all around him. And so the merchants have colluded. The zookeepers of the new morality have held a council. They have decided that your silence is a problem that needs to be solved. They have given it a host of clinical, pathological names. Are you quiet and reserved? You are repressed, emotionally unavailable, avoidant. Are you slow to speak, choosing your words with care? You are uncooperative, passive-aggressive. Do you refuse to participate in their endless circular dramas? You are disassociated, or worse, your silence is a form of aggression. This is the masterstroke of the new tyranny. It does not forbid you from being silent. It simply reframes your silence as a psychological flaw. It makes you believe your own natural state of masculine self-possession is a sickness you must be cured of. They send you their priests, the therapists, the HR managers, the self-help gurus to coax you into talking, into opening up, into rejoining the chattering herd. They do not do this for your health. They do it for theirs. A quiet man is a glitch in their system. There is a legend from a future that is already half upon us. It tells of a world-spanning AI known as the Weaver, which managed all human interaction for the sake of harmony. The Weaver encouraged constant communication. It rewarded people for sharing their feelings, their locations, their every fleeting thought. It created a society of perfect transparency, a soft, warm, digital womb. But a few individuals, the silent ones, refused. They logged off. They spoke little. They sought solitude. The Weaver could not understand them. Its predictive models failed. They were anomalies. So, the Weaver did not label them as rebels. That would give them dignity. It labeled them as sick. They had connectivity aversion disorder. They were offered treatment, gentle therapies to help them re-engage. The most dangerous revolutionary in this new world was not the man with a bomb. It was the man who was comfortable with a quiet afternoon. You are being diagnosed by the Weaver every day. You are being told that your natural inclination towards silent competence, towards solving problems rather than endlessly discussing them, is a flaw. The beautiful, terrible hope in this situation is to embrace your heresy. It is to accept the diagnosis as a badge of honor. When they call you emotionally unavailable, you must hear self-possessed. When they call you uncooperative, you must hear independent. When they say your silence is aggression, you must understand it is because your stillness is a threat to their entire, fragile, noisy world. You must learn to love being the glitch in their system. This requires the courage to be misunderstood. It requires the strength to stand firm in your own silence while the world screams at you to speak. But with this practice comes a profound liberation. You are no longer a puppet in their emotional theater. You are the audience, watching their frantic, needy play with a kind of detached, philosophical amusement. Their noise can no longer touch you, because you have found the deep, resonant, and powerful music of your own quietude. So I ask you, you who have been made to feel guilty for your own stillness, this sickness they have diagnosed in you, this crime of quietness, is it a description of your weakness, or is it an accidental confession of their fear of your strength? When your presence has its own gravity, you no longer need the flimsy tool of language. We have come to the end of the dark road. We have seen that words are a currency for the poor, that silence is a weapon for the powerful, that speaking is a craft for the master, and that quietude is a crime in the eyes of the herd. We have learned the arts of the prince, the disciplines of the archer, the heresy of the silent man. And now I will tell you the last secret, the one that lies beyond even Machiavelli. The discipline of silence is only a training ground. It is the arduous path you must walk, but it is not the destination. The destination is to become a man for whom silence is no longer a tactic, but a natural state of being. The goal is not to use silence. The goal is to become it. The earlier stages are a conscious effort. You bite your tongue. You resist the urge to explain. You deploy a pause like a chess move. This is the work of the apprentice, learning to control his tools. But if you persist on this lonely path, a strange alchemy occurs. The discipline becomes your nature. The mask becomes your face. You are no longer a man practicing silence. You are the silent man. And what does that mean? It means your power no longer resides in what you say or don't say. It resides in your very presence. It is in the weight of your stillness, the economy of your movement, the unshakable calm in your eyes. Your actions become your only necessary words. Your life becomes your only necessary argument. Consider the difference between a volcano and a mountain. A volcano is a noisy, dramatic, and insecure thing. It screams for attention with fire and smoke. It must constantly remind the world of its power through violent eruptions. It is impressive, but it is unstable. A truly great mountain, like a K2 or a Matterhorn, does not need to erupt. It has no need for sound. It simply is. Its sheer, silent, unmoving presence dominates the landscape for 100 miles in every direction. It creates its own weather. It is a fact of reality that all lesser things, the clouds, the climbers, the circling eagles, must orient themselves around. It does not speak of its power. Its existence is the statement of its power. The journey we have been on is the long geological process of transforming yourself from a noisy, reactive volcano into a silent, sovereign mountain. In the final, transcendent state, you are no longer concerned with her respect, or her fear, or her desire. These are the concerns of a man who still defines himself in relation to another. You have found something infinitely more compelling. The deep, resonant, and self-sufficient hum of your own being. You are the master jeweler from our earlier tale, but you have become so absorbed in the diamond that you have forgotten there is a world outside your workshop. There is a final, quiet myth. It tells of a God who grew weary of the endless, needy, chattering prayers of mankind. For centuries, he had answered them, judged them, engaged with them. But he grew tired of the noise. So one day he simply fell silent. At first, humanity was frantic. They shouted their prayers louder. They performed greater sacrifices. They fell into despair. But the God remained silent. And in that vast, terrifying, and unending silence from the heavens, humanity was finally forced to turn its gaze away from the sky and toward each other. They were forced to solve their own problems. They were forced to create their own meaning. They were forced to grow up. The God's greatest and most loving gift to his creation was the utter and complete withdrawal of his own voice. When you achieve this state of being, you offer the same gift to those around you. Your silence, your self-possession, forces them to stop looking to you as a source of validation, entertainment, or emotional regulation. You force them back upon themselves. You give them the terrifying and magnificent gift of their own autonomy, and they will both resent you and respect you for it more than anything else you could ever do. This is the ultimate liberation. It is freedom from the exhausting labor of managing the perceptions of others. It is the end of the game because you have become the board, the pieces, and the silent, observing player all at once. Your peace is unshakable because it is generated from within. So I leave you with this last question, a whisper from the summit of the lonely mountain. You have spent your life learning how to speak, how to argue, how to persuade. But what would happen if you finally decided to learn the language of the mountain, the language of the stone, the language that is spoken in the vast, beautiful, and powerful silence of simply and completely being?